Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully, everybody is doing great. Thank you for watching and sticking around. Before we get into it, though, please like and subscribe. It really does help out the algorithm, especially if you like non-biased election content. So, today's topic is regarding the redistricting referendum in Virginia, in the Commonwealth of Virginia. If you've been paying attention to politics at all, you should probably know what this is, at least a little bit about what this referendum is about. This is about redistricting in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So, what is happening? Well, pretty much the state legislature was narrowly controlled by Democrats. Um, and then in 2025 elections, you saw Abigail Spanberger win by a landslide, and with that, Democrats now have a very convincing majority in the state legislature, especially the state house. Senate is pretty close still, but they weren't up for election that year. Um, but Democrats basically won back a lot of momentum in the state. I'm gonna call it a state because it is a commonwealth, but I'm gonna call it a state for this video. Democrats gained momentum. However, I still tend to think that outside of that, the state is, it does lean liberal. I think it's a blue leaning state, but I think it can be purple, and I definitely don't think it's a 60, 70, 80% Democrats. Republicans get roughly about 45% of the vote in the state usually. So it's purple, with maybe leaning towards the blue. Um, However, the Democrat Assembly now since they have a Democrat Governor Abigail Spanberger has pretty much signed the legislation that the legislature passed, which will send this referendum to the state to vote on to use the map that the legislator created right here, which would make this go from a 6-5 map to a 10-1 map for the Democrats' advantage. Now, this is clearly a gerrymander, right? This is clearly not a fair map. Everybody would tell you. Both sides gerrymander. Republicans do it in some states. Democrats do it in others. In this case, it is the Democrats. Half the side is gonna say, absolutely, let's redo the maps. The other half will say, absolutely not. It's going to be, I think, kind of close. But this is talking about the referendum and what would happen. So, if you look at the current map, if you're kind of curious what a fair map would look like, it probably would be the current congressional map in Virginia. Pretty fair. This was the 2024 elections by margin. You had some safe Democrat seats, some safe Republican seats, and then you have some competitive areas. But this is a 6-5 advantage for the Democrats, which is basically the partisan lean of the state. As you can see, Democrats won the popular vote here by 4 points in 2024, and they won 9% advantage of the seats. So pretty much the same if you look at it. Pretty well represented. It's kind of even. Democrats have like one extra seat. Now, if the Democrats win Virginia by a larger margin, then the congressional map would look more like this, most likely. Or if Republicans did really well, it'd probably look like this. But a lot of some swing areas, but in general, like the partisan lean of these districts is mostly what you saw in 2024. Basically, I think this is reasonably a fair map. If you had to conclude what one would look like, I'd say Whitman's district would be likely Republican, but he won by 10. But that's basically what the map looked like in 2024. Obviously, you'll go to a much more unfavorable map. You'd see not a lot of competitive districts. You see a few likely, but they would still go Democrat under a most case scenario, and then the other ones are safe Democratic. They have Jen Kagan's district would be still left competitive, but it would be blue enough to be able to de-seat her, and then they'd have a vote sink in the southwestern part of the state. This would be Morgan Griffin's districts. That would be safe Republican, but the rest of the state would be deep blue, pretty much. So that would be the change. It would be this Tuesday. The redistricting, early voting has ended, so the in-day voting will happen. Um, April 21st, it says, and it shows that if it passes, the legislator would have the power to redraw the map. Um, that's basically what would happen. You see some prominent figures on both sides. You have Spanberger, as I mentioned earlier. She is in support of this, and then Glenn Youngkin, the Republican governor who was governor not that long ago, is obviously against the referendum. So you have both sides bringing in prominent figures in the state to try to convince voters to or to not vote for this referendum. As you see, polling is kind of close. I think it's slightly favored towards yes. I think that in the end of the day, yes, it'll probably be a yes, but I would definitely not be surprised if it says no. I think Republicans are definitely turning out. The Republican counties are turning out the most. But we'll see if there's enough Democrats to win. I think it's still going to be close at the end. I think it's going to be close. Some polling definitely has no winning, but we'll have to see how this ends up playing out. But this is basically what has happened in Virginia. Definitely keep you posted. It'll be interesting to see what happens. The map, it will definitely change a lot. It'll go from pretty relatively fair map to one that definitely favors the Democrats. It would change it, and that could definitely change the margin. This would be 5 districts that would flip. No, sorry, it'd be four districts that would flip. So I think that's pretty basically it. Let me know down in the comments. Do you think that this referendum will pass? Do you think this referendum is you support it? Do you not support it? Let me know down in the comments. Hope you enjoyed. Again, please like and subscribe. I hope to see you in the next video.